She never imagined that one small piece of paper could unravel everything she thought she knew about her family. Olivia's hands trembled as she stared at the birth certificate she had found, the ink blurring in her vision. It listed her own parents as her adopted sister's biological parents, and a secret that had been buried for decades was suddenly screaming to the surface. The truth would shatter the bonds she had trusted her entire life. Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I always thought our family was normal. My parents, warm and meticulous, had raised me with love, and my little sister, Emma, had been the mischievous shadow that followed me through childhood. We shared secrets, laughter, and endless afternoons in our sunlit backyard. Yet somewhere deep inside, I felt a persistent hollow, like there was a piece of the puzzle I wasn't seeing. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself it was just teenage curiosity, but the unease never left. I had always known Emma was adopted. It wasn't a heavy secret in our household, more like a quietly acknowledged fact tucked into the corner of family life. My parents never shied away from answering questions about her past, but their words were always careful, almost rehearsed. "You'll meet your sister's biological family someday," they said with gentle smiles, "but right now, she's ours, and that's what matters." I had accepted it, thinking love could eclipse all mysteries. My life, at 26, had settled into a delicate rhythm. I worked at a small art gallery downtown, the scent of oil paint and turpentine always comforting, and spent evenings curled with a book or sipping chamomile tea while Emma binge-watched reality shows on the couch. Our routines were comforting, predictable, almost perfect. But that night, as the wind rattled the windows and rain tapped insistently against the panes, I felt an inexplicable pull toward the attic, a place I rarely ventured. Dust motes danced in the single bulb's harsh light as I moved aside old boxes and forgotten keepsakes. That's when I noticed a worn, leather-bound folder tucked under a pile of childhood scrapbooks. My heart thumped as I carefully pried it open. Inside were documents that made me freeze, my fingertips brushing the fragile pages like they were fragile glass. And then I saw it. The birth certificate, Emma's name, my parents' names, and the words biological parents glaring up at me, impossible and undeniable. My chest tightened, a scream lodged in my throat. The room seemed to tilt, the shadows in the corners stretching and whispering secrets I wasn't ready to hear. I wanted to drop it, to convince myself I was reading wrong. But my eyes refused to look away. My mind raced, trying to stitch together a story that made sense, a story where love didn't feel like a lie. How long had they known? Why had they kept it from us? The questions clawed at me, relentless. A creak behind me made me jump, the folder slipping from my hands. I spun around and froze. My parents stood at the attic doorway, faces pale, eyes wide, and I knew, without a doubt, that the moment I had feared was here. The secret was no longer just theirs. It was mine, too. I couldn't speak. The folder lay crumpled at my feet, and the paper seemed heavier than it should, like it carried the weight of decades of silence. My parents' eyes darted between me and the certificate, the kind of silence that was both suffocating and accusatory. "Olivia," my mother finally whispered, her voice breaking like a fragile thread. We didn't want you to find out like this." Her words, though soft, cut deeper than any shout could have. I felt my chest tighten, tears stinging my eyes. "Why?" I managed to choke out. "Why would you hide something like this from me, from Emma?" My father ran a hand through his hair, his usual composure crumbling. "We thought we were protecting her, protecting all of you. It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone." His voice faltered, the room suddenly smaller, the air thick with years of unspoken truths. I sank to the floor, the rain outside pounding harder, echoing the storm in my heart. I tried to make sense of it, tried to find a thread of logic in the chaos, but every explanation my parents offered seemed to twist into another question. My mind went in circles. Did Emma know? Had she suspected? Were our childhoods, all of this, a lie? Emma's voice called from downstairs, cheerful and oblivious. "Olivia, dinner's ready." The normalcy of her tone made the betrayal feel even sharper. I wanted to run to her, to protect her from the pain I was drowning in, but I couldn't move. I felt like I was caught between two worlds, the life I had always known and the one the certificate had thrust in front of me. My mother knelt beside me, tears welling in her eyes. "We wanted to tell you when you were ready, when you could understand, but we never imagined you'd find it like this." "Understand what?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "That you lied to me? That Emma? She's my sister by blood, not just heart?" My father's hand finally touched my shoulder, hesitant, almost afraid. "It's complicated, Olivia. It's always been complicated. We loved her, and we love you both. That's never changed." But his words felt hollow against the storm of emotions inside me. Love wasn't supposed to be this heavy, this tangled. My hands gripped the edges of the folder, the paper crumpling slightly under my fingers, and I realized that the truth wasn't just about Emma. It was about trust, about the invisible threads that had bound our family, and how easily those threads could unravel. I need to see her," I whispered, barely audible. My mother hesitated, but my father gave a small nod, and I ran down the stairs, my heart hammering in my chest. I reached the living room, and there she was, Emma, sprawled on the couch, laughing at something on her phone. The sight of her innocence, her unknowing smile, tore at me. I wanted to tell her everything, but the words got stuck in my throat. How do you explain betrayal to the person you love most in the world? I took a deep breath, trying to steady the storm inside me. "Emma, I need to show you something," I said, my voice trembling. She looked up, curious but confused. As I handed her the folder, our eyes met, and I saw the question form on her face, that innocent, trusting face. And just like that, the world I thought I knew tilted again. The secret wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to both of us now. Emma's fingers shook as she opened the folder. Her eyes widened as she scanned the words. A quiet gasp escaped her lips, and the room fell into a deafening silence, broken only by the pounding rain outside. I don't. This can't be," she stammered, voice quivering. And in that moment, I realized the truth we had buried for years wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a storm waiting to consume everything we thought we knew about our family and ourselves. Emma's hands trembled as she held the folder, her knuckles white against the fragile paper. I could see the storm in her eyes, the same storm I'd felt moments before, but there was something else too, a raw, unspoken fear, as if the ground beneath her had suddenly vanished. "Olivia, why didn't anyone tell me?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Her gaze flicked to our parents, who were frozen in the doorway, unable to meet her eyes. I swallowed hard, my own throat tight with emotion. I didn't know either, Emma. I found it just now. My words felt small against the weight of years, against the silence that had held this secret like a shadow over our lives. She flung the folder onto the coffee table, the papers sliding across the polished wood. "All this time? You knew? You both knew?" Her voice rose, trembling with disbelief and hurt. "And you didn't tell me?" My mother's lips quivered. Emma, we were trying to protect you. We thought— Protect me? Emma interrupted, her hands flying to her face. From what? The truth about my own life? How is that protecting me? My father finally stepped forward, his voice heavy with regret. We didn't want to disrupt your life. We thought love was enough, that our family was enough. But now I see we were wrong, completely wrong. Emma's gaze snapped back to me, searching, desperate. And Olivia, you knew too, didn't you? Why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you tell me? I shook my head, tears spilling freely. Emma, I didn't even know until tonight. I swear, I found the certificate by accident. I promise, I never. Her breath caught, and she sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. The room was suffocating with tension, the silence punctuated only by the relentless drumming of rain against the windows. I wanted to reach out, to pull her into my arms, but the gap between us felt enormous, carved by years of hidden truths and broken trust. Do you even love me? She murmured, voice muffled, but the question struck me like a dagger. Emma, I love you more than anything, I said, my voice trembling. You're my sister, in every way that matters. That hasn't changed, and it will never change. But I understand if you need time, if you need space. I couldn't let you face this alone. She lifted her head, eyes glistening, searching mine for reassurance. I could see the hurt, the confusion, and the flicker of hope all at once. The folder lay between us, a silent monument to the secret that had shaped our lives. My parents exchanged a glance, the weight of their guilt almost unbearable. My mother's hands twisted nervously. We should have told you the truth a long time ago, she admitted. We thought we were protecting you, but we realize now we only delayed the pain. The bond you share with each other, that's real. That hasn't changed. Emma's hands rested on the folder now, almost reverently, as if she were holding the pieces of her life in her palms. She took a shaky breath. So, all this time, we've been sisters by blood? Yes, I whispered, my voice barely audible. By blood, by heart, by everything that matters. For a moment, the storm outside seemed to pause. The room was heavy with emotions, grief, betrayal, relief, and love, all tangled together. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The truth had been revealed, but the real work, the healing, the understanding, the forgiveness, was only just starting. And as Emma finally looked at me, eyes red but shining with unshed tears, I realized we were standing at the edge of something new, a chance to rebuild, to redefine what family meant. But I also knew that the secret we had uncovered would leave scars, scars that might never fully fade. The house felt different the next morning. The rain had stopped, leaving a soft, clean smell of wet earth drifting through the open windows. The sun peeked through the clouds, pale and hesitant, like it too was unsure of what had just happened inside. Emma and I sat at the kitchen table, the folder now closed between us, like a book that had been read but whose pages still hummed with unspoken words. We hadn't spoken much, words felt inadequate, but the silence was no longer heavy. It was tentative, fragile, but it carried a thread of understanding. I'm scared, Emma admitted finally, her fingers tracing the edges of the folder. I don't know how to feel. I mean, I feel happy, and I feel angry, and I feel lost. I reached across the table, letting my hand rest over hers. It's okay, I said softly. I feel the same way, but we're here. We'll figure it out together. Our parents joined us slowly, carefully. My father's voice was quiet but sincere. "We can't undo the past," he said, eyes downcast. "But we want to be honest from now on. No more secrets. We want you both to know everything, if you're ready." My mother's eyes glistened. "You two are the most important people in our lives. The love we have for you hasn't changed, even if our choices were wrong. We want to help you heal in any way we can." Emma let out a shaky breath, leaning back in her chair. For the first time since the revelation, I saw a small, genuine smile tug at her lips. I guess I just need to get used to the idea that we're sisters in every sense, that this wasn't some mistake, that it's real. "It's real," I said firmly, squeezing her hand. "Blood doesn't define family, but it does. And so does love. And we have both, Emma. We've always had both." The air seemed lighter then, as if the house itself had released the tension it had held for years. The storm had passed, leaving clarity in its wake. I knew there would be difficult conversations ahead, moments of anger, questions, and doubt. But I also knew that we had survived the first and hardest step, confronting the truth. Later that evening, Emma and I walked through the backyard, the grass still glistening from the rain. We didn't speak at first, letting the quiet stretch between us, letting the sun warm our shoulders. Then she reached for my hand, gripping it firmly. "You know," she said, a small smile breaking through, this actually feels kind of amazing, like we found something we weren't even looking for." I laughed softly, feeling a weight lift off my chest. Yeah, a secret that almost destroyed us, but didn't. Somehow, it made us stronger. And as we stood there, side by side, I realized something profound. Family wasn't just about who birthed you. It was about who stood by you when the world felt like it was collapsing. It was about love that endured through lies, through secrets, through storms. And now, with the truth finally out, we could start to rebuild, together. The folder remained on the kitchen table, a quiet reminder of the past. But the future, that belonged to us, to laughter, to honesty, to shared moments that no secret could ever touch again. I looked at Emma and whispered, almost to myself, "We're sisters, always." And she smiled, squeezing my hand. "Always."